Hey everyone, my name is Caleb, and I just been having so many conversations with people around points, how to earn them, how to use them, that I thought it'd be best just record a video to kind of go over everything. I wish this could be a 1 minute TikTok video, but it's actually quite complex and there's a lot to go through, a lot of key concepts to understand, and so I felt that this would be the best format to do so. So, what is this video all about? This video is all about how to fly on business class. Um, it is an amazing experience, whether it's the food, the service, the bed. It's honestly incredible and something I never thought I'd ever be able to do in my lifetime, but that's changed with credit card points. And so it's not just even all about luxury. Flying business saves you a ton of time. It allows you to feel rested the minute you land. I can't tell you how big of a difference it makes arriving to a location and not feeling the need to just sleep for 12, 14 hours to recuperate. It's great to also be able to look forward to the journey instead of dread. And a lot of people, especially flying back to Asia, you think about that 12, 14-hour flight. You just dread it. You can't wait to be there, but you dread the journey. And so that's also kind of been really transformational in terms of me looking forward to flights. Eating well, not all business classes have great food, but a lot of them do. And, I know some people that are worried about the quality of food, how healthy it is, and sometimes even pack lunches and kind of really go out of their way to make sure that they're eating well on flight. So that's also kind of like solved with flying business. And honestly, what's great about having kind of like points and traveling like this is you kind of end up in really unexpected and far off places. And it really, I would say, removes kind of the cost barrier to some of the places that you may want to go to. And so, how is this all possible? Well, it's possible through credit card points. I hope that's not a spoiler to anyone, but using credit card points really unlocks your ability to be able to fly business class to a lot of different places. So in this video, I want to cover two key concepts. There is earning points and also there's using points. I started my point journey kind of early on in the pandemic. And when I was doing something, I was like, when am I ever going to need these points? I was just like accumulating all these points. And I'm very thankful that I did that because after the pandemics, once things started to open up, I had a huge kind of like treasure chest of points that I could draw on that kind of unlocked my ability to travel to a lot of different places, especially before they got super busy, as it kind of is now. And so number one part of all of this is just earn a ton of points. We're going to go over different strategies on how to do that because that's number one. And then number two is using the points. There's a ton of ways to maximize the value in points. I look at these things really preciously. They're kind of almost better than cash in some ways. And so there's a lot of different ways that you have to look for reward availability, have to look for different routes to kind of help you use these points in the best way possible and allow you to fly on some of the best airlines possible as well. So let's dive in. Step one, number one, is earning points. And let's go over some of the basics. So number one, a lot of people think this is too good to be true, and they want to know kind of like why credit cards would even do this. It's kind of sounds like free money. And it's not. The truth of the matter is people are paying for this. You're paying for it. That person ahead of you at the checkout line is paying for it. Credit cards use different incentives to try to convince you to use their card to make purchases. So you have points cards, cashback cards. Sometimes they'll offer you insurance, free subscriptions. These are all benefits to try to kind of like lure you in so then you put spend on their specific credit card. And so now, like when you buy like an Apple or a movie ticket, actually that fee goes to cover, right? That credit card fee goes to cover some of the cost of offering some of these benefits, right? And so when you think about it logically, what happens if you use cash or a debit card is you're actually subsidizing these benefits for other customers. So, I use my credit card and I get all these great travel benefits. That person ahead of me is paying cash for something. I don't know, 2%, 1% of the cost of their product is actually going in to help subsidize my credit card benefits and allow me to travel. So That's something that I think should just get people to want to use credit cards, because you are paying for these benefits. They're just kind of like hidden within the cost of a lot of goods that we buy today. And why travel? Why credit card points to travel with? Well, they offer kind of the maximum return on money in terms of the amount you spend and the amount you get back. As you might have seen, some credit cards might offer 2% back, 1% back in terms of cash back. When we look at maximizing these credit card points for travel rewards, we're shooting for something like 6%, 10%, sometimes even 15% back on money that you would spend anyways, and allows you to travel business class. Okay, sorry, had to take a little bit of a break. So let's dive in deeper into the types of credit card point kind of bonuses and benefits that would come with a credit card. I like to bucket these into two different categories. One is organic spend, and the other is welcome bonuses. So what do those terms mean? So for organic, what we're talking about is money points that you would earn by spending organically on the credit card. And different credit cards have categories that potentially have multipliers. So potentially 4 times the points on groceries, 2 times on subscriptions, 2 times on restaurants, and 1 point per dollar spent on everything else. That's organic spend. On the other hand, you also have what we like to call a welcome bonus. And so this is really to incentivize you to sign up for a net new credit card. So what the structure bonus of something like this would be is potentially 10,000 points right upon being approved for the credit card, and 40,000 points for spending $1,000 within the next 3 months. And so it's quite different, right? One is kind of like a bulk all at once kind of points. And the other is, as the months and years go on, as you're spending in these different categories, you can accumulate points that way as well. Now, both ways will help you accumulate points, but if you want to go get on the path of accumulating 10, 100, 200, 300,000 points very, very quickly, what we need to focus on is the welcome bonus credit cards. So credit cards that offer a welcome bonus for signing up. And this is the reason why we do so. So a welcome bonus could offer you 75,000 points after spending $5,000. This is 15 times. So 15 times points on your dollar spent with no category restrictions. So this could be utilities, you could be buying a new MacBook. It doesn't matter, as long as you spend the $5,000, you'll get 15 times return. When we think about organic spend, in order for you to get 75,000 points, you'll need to spend $15,000 on a 5 times category. So if you think about how restrictive that is, maybe that category is, let's say, groceries, you need to spend $15,000 on groceries alone. And so it's a little bit more restrictive. It takes a little bit longer for most of us. And it's really still a good method. But again, if you really want to accumulate a lot of points really quickly, this is why I recommend people to focus on the welcome bonus, to signing up for a lot of net new credit cards. And so there's a little point I like to talk about here is when you have something like $1,000 or $2,000 of spend every month, the goal is going to be trying to put these $2,000 into earning you a welcome bonus, whether that welcome bonus takes 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever it is. You want to make sure that your spend every month is going towards the spend of a welcome bonus credit card. Even within the category of welcome bonuses, there are kind of different ways that credit card companies will try to lure you in different types of welcome bonuses. So the best, my favorite, is the bulk. And so you spend X amount within Y amount of time, usually between 90 and 180 days, and you will earn Z amount of points. It's very simple, no categories, you don't think about it, just spend. Another one, which is maybe even better, but pretty rare these days, is right upon approval. So there's a lot of credit cards that once you're approved for the credit card, they'll give you 15, 20, 25, 35,000 points all at once. And so the structure is get X amount of points after you approve for the credit card. Really simple, no spend. This is really a no-brainer. When you see a credit card offering you points just on approval, you need to be applying almost right away. And then there's monthly. So this is not bad, but also it's a little bit more complicated. You have to think about it. And how these work is that for every month that you spend X amount, you will earn Y amount of points for the first Z months. So usually that time horizon is like 6 months, 12 months. Maybe you spend $500, $1,000, $2,000 a month. Again, it's not difficult to earn, but again, it takes a little bit longer and it just takes a little bit more tracking to make sure that you're actually hitting those minimum spends every month to make sure you're maximizing those points. Another thing that you'll commonly see is an anniversary bonus. And so why credit card companies structure this is to incentivize you to stay with the card after the first year. And so as long as you maybe make a purchase at month 14 of being with the credit card, they'll give you kind of another bulk bonus. And depending on the bonus, depending on the fee of the credit card, this could be worth it, or it could be worth just kind of letting it go. So those are the types of credit card points, structures, and bonuses that's kind of like out there in the market. The other part about this is understanding the different types of points that exist within the world and how they relate to credit cards. So starting first here, we live in BC, Canada. These are two airlines and point systems that you'll probably run in with. So Air Canada has their own kind of point system that's called Aeroplan. Same with Cathay Pacific. They have something called Asia Miles, and most, if not most, carriers have their own point system. And these systems are owned and operated by the airlines. And as you can see, sometimes there are credit cards that are co-branded that help you earn things like Aeroplan points directly, or help you earn things like Asia Miles directly. And so these are kind of like airline tied credit cards. On the other hand, you have, I like to call these bank points or flexible points. These are point systems run by, let's say, American Express or RBC Avion Awards. And these are kind of flexible points that is kind of run by these banks that allow you to exchange for things like Aeroplan points and also Asia Mile points. And so we'll get into this more, but those are also the two types of cards that kind of exist out there. You have these American Express cards that earn you membership rewards. You have these RBC Avion cards that help you earn Avion rewards. And you also have Airplane cards that earn you Airplane points, Cathay Pacific cards that earn you Asia Miles, so on and so forth. So which points should you earn? I tell everyone this to prioritize getting flexible points. And it's pretty straightforward. With flexible points, you have more options on how you want to fly. Generally speaking, if you're here in Canada, obviously Aeroplan points are kind of a no-brainer. But sometimes maybe you want to fly with Cathay, or maybe you want to fly with Air France. Having this flexibility allows you to do that. And so I would say prioritize American Express and Avion points. That being said, you have a lot of these great Aeroplan cards and Asia Mile cards that allow you to earn these points very, very quickly and quite easily. Definitely go for those as well, because again, if you live in Canada, you will end up using those Aeroplan points, and those credit cards offer auxiliary benefits like free check bags and all that goodness. Avion, I would highlight, is super flexible. There's a ton of different ways to use them, and they're very, very easy to earn. And really, the best method of all is to really earn all of them simultaneously, right? Understand your spend every month and kind of have a queue of cards that you want to put that spend onto, and just kind of keep rolling that in. And honestly, having a mix of all of these different types of credit cards will be amazing. So how do you earn a lot of credit card points? The main thing that you have to be able to take away here is that you do not want to or need to spend more than you already do on your original credit card. So if you spend $1,000 a month, great. $2,000, great. $5,000, whatever it is, Don't increase your spend to earn points. That's not why we do this. That really, I guess, plays in the hand of what these credit card companies want. And I mentioned this already before. You want to optimize where you are putting existing spend to maximize welcome bonuses. And so what this means is that, again, if you have 2,000, make sure that 2,000 goes into a welcome bonus every month. If you spend 5,000, make sure that 5,000. And let's say that welcome bonus is only 1,000, make sure you have 2 credit cards with open spend that month. And that's really the 2 strategies that I try to keep in mind. And with that, you'll kind of figure out what kind of cards, right? Because some might have lower spend, apply for some of those. Some might higher spend, apply for those. And so these are different types of cards I think everybody should have. I have multiple of these types of cards. You should always be looking for those bulk welcome bonuses. These are great if you have big purchases coming up or you need to pay your auto insurance. It's really, really easy actually to put $3,000, $5,000, sometimes even $10,000 worth of spend on a credit card. Monthly bonuses are obviously a little bit more tedious, but it makes sense in some cases, right? So if you have subscriptions, utilities, Apple Pay, Uber, you don't really all want to be changing payments, every time you get a new card. And so sometimes it's nice to have one of these monthly bonus credit cards to put some of these reoccurring bills on, or things like Uber on, where it just makes sense to have kind of tied to a single credit card. And number 3, as I mentioned before, on approval, you should be having your eye out for a lot of these different credit cards. On approval is literally free points. As long as you're approved for the credit card, you get the points. Always look up for these and always apply. And number 4, I think this is completely optional and it depends on how much you travel. But I think everyone should also have a premium credit card. This is great for insurance. It's great for lounge access. They often have a lot of promotions where they offer you $50 back after spending $75 in Lululemon. And so I find that with a lot of these premium credit cards, you're able to actually make a lot of that money back. They also often offer really big welcome bonuses, often over 100,000. So those are the 4 types of cards that you think that you should always have. I think, again, keep your eye out for bulk welcome bonuses. These should be revolving. And that's really it. As for right now, what card should you own? I think right now the TD Aeroplan Visa Infinite is amazing. It's free first year, and it's offering 50,000 points after $5,000 worth of spend. So really simple, straightforward point welcome bonus structure. Another great one is the Amex Business Gold. The fee is $200, but for that, they're offering 75,000 points after 5K of spend. And again, these are Amex membership reward points, which are super, super, super flexible. And then on the what do you call it? On approval types of cards, the RBC Avion cards, both the Platinum and the Visa Infinite, is offering 35,000 points right on approval with a fee of $120. That this is a no-brainer. 35,000 points, you can do so much with this, and the $120 is kind of it's worth it. And I'll probably upload another video on how to kind of play this RBC Avion game where you actually can get a refund on this as well. As those are the 3 cards I think everybody should own right now. But let's continue on to using points. So how many points does it take to travel in business? Let's get a baseline understanding for the number of points that we need here. One of my favorite examples is Vancouver to Tokyo and flying ANA. Economy is about 35,000 points, and in business, it's only 55,000 points. So if you remember what we're looking at, getting this card almost gets you right into a business class flight to Japan. One card. This is one way, but just think about actually how quick this can happen for you. Another example is Vancouver to Toronto. An economy seat be about 10,000 points, and in business, 24,000 points. You can often find deals. And for further longer trips, from Seattle to the Maldives. An economy class ticket could be 45,000 one way, and in business it could be 95,000. So a little bit more, but much further distance. And again, very doable when you think about how quickly you can actually earn some of these points. And we can't really talk about points without really quickly first understanding airline alliances. So there are 3 major airline alliances. I should probably switch these up here. There's Star Alliance, One World, and Sky Team. And as you can see within these different alliances, there's a bunch of different airlines that operate within them. Going after our example that we talked about earlier, Air Canada is part of Star Alliance and Cathay Pacific is part of One World. And so when you collect Aeroplan points, you can use those points to fly on other Star Alliance airlines. So again, if you have Aeroplan points, which is part of Air Canada, you open yourself up to all of these different airlines and thus following all these different locations: Singapore, New Zealand, Taiwan, Ethiopia. So 1 point program opens you up to all of these airlines. And on the other hand, if you can collect Cathay Pacific Asia miles, that opens you up to all of these other airlines: Finnair, Qatar, Qantas, so on and so forth. And so what I'm trying to say is, by collecting actually just 3 different types of points, you can actually fly all of the world's different airlines, because as long as you're kind of collecting points within one alliance, you're more or less able to travel within all of the different airlines. And so just to illustrate this further, you're in Canada, you're spending dollars on your Aeroplan card, you're earning Aeroplan points. Because Air Canada is part of Star Alliance and EVA Air is part of Star Alliance, you're able to fly on EVA Air flights. And we like to label this, in the community, it's called a partner redemption. Now, there's a lot of nuances to all of this, and it's going to start sounding a lot better. So partner redemptions are what we usually like to focus on because they have a fixed price. They are based on distance bands, and it's irregardless of the actual ticket price. So YVR to Taipei is always 75,000 points. Whether you're flying today or flying during Christmas, it's always going to be 75,000 points. It's a fixed amount. Meanwhile, if you use Aeroplan points for Air Canada flights, those are often subject to dynamic pricing, which, like regular plane tickets, plane ticket, not in high season will be lower, and a ticket in high season will be higher. So an economy flight from Vancouver to Toronto could be 8,000 points, or it could cost upwards of 30,000 points. So that's why it's really important to focus on these partner airlines. What's also even better about these partner airlines, especially within the context of Canada, is that they're usually better to fly on than Air Canada anyways. But it's also important to note that depending on the program, the same flight could cost more. And so a flight on EVA could be 75,000 on Aeroplan, but it could be 85,000 on United Mileage Plus, which is another points program. So that's something to keep in mind as you're looking for these redemptions. And again, hopefully I'll release a video later on talking about this more. Availability could also differ. Aeroplan could get more seats compared to a program mileage, like Mileage Plus. It kind of all really depends, and there's also a lot of different nuances within these different programs. And generally speaking, an airline's own program will get more availability, but that's often also subject to dynamic pricing. Now, this isn't all good news. Sorry, give me a sec. If it was, I think even more people would be on this point game. But the big disclaimer here is that not all seats on flights are available to be booked with points. On each flight, maybe only 1 or 2 business class seats are available. And this is especially the case for longer international kind of trans-Pacific, transatlantic flights. And they get snatched up almost a year out. There are different strategies to kind of navigate this, but it's something to think about when you're trying to play this point game, especially if you're trying to go internationally, is that we really have to plan ahead. And so, some of the 4 strategies that I have for booking these tickets is to book a year ahead. And even if the trip doesn't come to fruition, it's kind of worth it to even pay the cancellation fees just to kind of reserve that business spot. Another way you could do this is to just book a refundable economy ticket and look for business class openings 2 weeks, a week, or even 2 days before the flight actually takes place. Number 3 is to keep checking. I've had cases where I thought there was no opening. I've checked kind of every couple of days and somehow it just opens up. Maybe someone refunded a ticket. Maybe they just decided to open up a seat. Again, no one really knows the exact in and outs of how these award seats open up. So it really behooves you to just keep checking. And there's even some services that you can sign up for that will send you an alert once a seat opens up. And number 4 is to be flexible. Sometimes direct flights are really in demand and they might not have open space, but taking a short 1-hour transfer, 2-hour transfer to a different city could open you up to a lot more possibilities. And so really something that also keep in mind is just to be flexible with reward bookings. It will really help you experience a lot more of these different business classes. Now, there will be more videos covering this because it's quite complicated, but understanding routes is also a very important part about using these points. Again, you don't want to transfer any of your flexible points into any of those any of those alliance point systems until you have an exact route in place. And this comes with a lot of experience. It comes with a lot of searching. So just be patient when you're trying to understand this and leverage Google Flights to help you understand the different ways to get to a particular destination. I'm going to go through just a quick example just to kind of illustrate this. So let's say you want to fly from Taiwan back home to Vancouver, but with EVA. Unfortunately, there are no direct flights. You searched in Aeroplan, there's no direct flights. And so assuming you have ample points or you have potentially ample points in all of the different airline programs, what do? How do you find a business class seat home? Here are just 5 options, and I promise you there's probably a ton more. You can check what other cities EVA flies into in Western North America. They fly into places like Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Houston, and even Chicago. And so you can take a look to see if these flights are available and route home that way. Number 2 is you can use Asia Miles. So you can go to Hong Kong and see if Cathay has flights from Hong Kong to Vancouver. Number 3, you can use Flying Blue Miles to find flights on China Airlines, which is a SkyTeam. This is a SkyTeam Miles program, and see if they have flights from Taipei to Vancouver and other North American destinations. Again, leveraging this kind of mindset also kind of applies to these 2 options as well. Route 4, on option 4, you can fly to Seoul and see if Flying Blue Miles has the option to help you book on Korean Air, another SkyTeam, from Seoul to YVR. The last option that I just could think of really quickly was to fly to Tokyo and see if you can find flights on JAL or ANA to YVR. These are One World and Star Alliance airlines respectively, and so you can transfer points that way. So it's all a lot, and I hope this kind of helps. And really, actually, the hope is that it raises even more questions. Feel free to DM me if you have any further questions. And again, I'll remind you of some action steps I think is really, really important for you. Accumulate an ungodly amount of airline points. That's the start of all this. Everything else is almost irrelevant until you have a substantial amount of points. And again, these are the 3 cards that I recommend everybody go out and apply for today. Number 2, keep points flexible. I mentioned earlier, do not transfer points into a specific booking in mind. Sometimes they even offer transfer bonuses. And for 90% of people, it just still continues to make sense to keep points flexible. So if you have membership rewards from Amex or Avion points from RBC, keep those in their respective programs until you need it, until you have a booking in mind. Step 3 is to earn and burn your points. Points are worthless unless you use them, and often they go through devaluation, which means that they get just a little bit less valuable. They cost a little bit more to fly the same route in terms of points. And so plan those trips ahead of time and burn those points. And step 4, really simple, enjoy, start drinking champagne, 35,000 feet in the air. And that is all. Sorry for this very, very long video, but please, if you have questions, message me. I love to talk about points. I'd love to help. All right. Thank you.